afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sarah Pearson, and I'm with Marie Skyler Drever and Julie White Pigeon. And who else? Where is Rhonda? Rhonda Medicine Crow from MHA Nation. And Sarah Medicine Crow from MHA Nation. And we're here to have a good time with you guys. I'm guessing people here have some responsibility with the strategic action plan in some manner or other. Okay. Has anyone ever thought that a strategic action plan was somebody's idea of a torture device? You're like, who did this? Who created this mess? Well, we're going to get into that conversation. I guess the first thing is getting this slide going.
And I just want to do a good introduction to Sarah. Sarah, if you're not familiar with Sarah, she works on our back end. She assists us GTAs with our grantees, and she is a subject matter expert in SAP, Community Action Plan, Tribal Action Plan, Strategic Action Plan. And so Sarah was, I think, feeling the same thing we were feeling as some GTAs who are visual. And I can contest that some of my grantees are visuals, and that workbook SAP was not working for some of us. And so Sarah came up with this beautiful template, and it went through these perfections over time, over a year. I believe we started it last December, and I came on board bringing her some prototypes of like, hey, I have some grantees that want a SAP. What can we do with this? And that's where this particular document that she's going to be sharing, the new template, where that birthed from. So I just wanted to give you some background information on it. It's brought the old template into a more user-friendly model. So I'll let Sarah take over, and I'm just here to help.
And I will confess, I'm responsible for the one you have. Yeah, the look. Oh no. And where that came from is we were building the plane while flying it. We had things to kind of, be responsible for. But that template doesn't work for people practically. You have to have, when you're out and about, you're running around, you have to have something easy to look at. So going back to the beginning, we've got Rhonda here to give us a sense of how to use a new SAP template from a practical perspective. But just jumping into it, just remembering, does anybody here see the spiff in this image? How many people see? 1, 2, 2 people, 3 people see the spiff in this, and
The flower petals.
thank you. Great. Yes. This is just to remind you that we didn't go rogue with this. Design came as the basis of the design is SAMHSA's strategic prevention framework, starting with assessment. See over here, I should have a pointer. Assessment. We start with grabbing our data for the community systems analysis that talks about the partners, the potential partners in your community. So it kind of helps you amass that data. And then the community systems analysis. I just want to say I'm going to embarrass someone I'm just thrilled with. We have royalty in the room. Barbara Pluston is here. Barbara is part of the duo with Pamela Jumper Thurman, who created with a team who created the CRM. And yes, I'm very proud. So anyway, we're first assessing data in the community, potential partners, but knowing the hearts and the minds of the people, the level of readiness, the frequency. We don't want to create a plan that isn't ready for the people, right? So to know the hearts and minds of the people, go through the CRM. And then you move to the strategic action plan, and then into implementation. So this is just to kind of remind us where the SAP lives within the Native Connections approach. Where you have any thoughts?
Oh, no, I was just trying to help you with.
Oh, you look
with
like
a pointer. There we go, I found it. Laser pointer. There we go. Okay.
Does that make sense, David? So first, just where do we start? I like what Rhonda was saying. Go back to the beginning. You get grounded. Before you do your strategic action plan, you get yourself grounded. How you find your people. How do you find the people? You connect with them, you build your team, right? Your partners, your youth, your elders, and others. Is anyone ready to talk to thinking that you might have been able to do this alone at one time?
Too.
I'm sorry?
Sometimes we had to do it alone.
Yeah. And you think you won't. It'll be so much easier and so much quicker if I just got this done. I'll write it up real quick, pass it through, get it approved, and we're off and running. What happens when you do that?
Things are missed. It's important steps, so you can support other people that you need to target.
Excellent. What else could happen if you do it alone? Oh, yeah, right. Anything else?
Sometimes you're missing buy-in from other people that you might need to fully execute.
All of those are great answers. That one's my favorite. You miss the buy-in. And what happens if you miss the buy-in? You lose the game. If we're thinking about this as a game, it's a game of life, we're losing people. Cipriano and I used to say when we go out to do tribal action plan development, I would open up with a very charismatic, people are dying. But what are you doing? I'm like, that's important. I traveled a long way to come out to wherever I was in the nation. I'm not here just because I love Minneapolis. I'm here because I love tribes. I worry about you guys. I don't like the fact that people are leaving. So I get a little emotional. Let's do something. Let's get going. Doing a strategic action plan by yourself robs you of the input from other people. And it robs them of the chance to feel ownership in the plan. Now, once they have ownership, you draw them in. Now that they're part of the action. And they can share in all the fun. Probably not in the reporting, but all the wonderful things that come out of it. And then also, part of getting grounded is that you might want to include people, and this is hard for some of us, get the people that you wouldn't normally maybe reach out to. People who are in recovery that might be harder to get. But gosh, if you want to keep it real, you guys know, reach out to people in recovery. They will help you keep it real. And then lastly, the gentleman, I don't know, was anybody here right now that was in the section right before us? You were, what was your big takeaway from the gentleman who was in here before talking about grants?
He was talking about how important it is for us to follow that funding, the agreement, the availability, because that's going to be our Bible. And that's going to guide us to our beginning of the grant steps.
Exactly. Okay, rewinding just a little bit. When you first discovered that you won this award, or maybe you were just part of a team, was anybody here part of the team that wrote the grant before you won it? Only 2 people?
No,
3
Not
people?
this one, other one, yeah.
4 people. For this particular grant, for Native Connections Grant, who in the room was part of the team that wrote the grant? Maybe 40, 50%?
Yeah.
The other folks came in maybe as hired after the grant started. Okay. Has anyone not seen the original notice of funding award? Everyone's seen it. Everyone knows it. No, really, no. Okay. Get your hands on that. Not just this grant, but most any of the grants. You're going to do an action plan. that will give you the clue by four. It gives you the clues of what was promised to SAMHSA in exchange for the federal funding, taxpayer funding you got to run your program. That tells you what was promised, and it usually has a vision statement sometimes, a few goals, maybe objectives already written down. So you don't necessarily have to follow those specifically, but that was the original plan. That qualified your grant to get funded. Now they're Fed is awarding you the funding, giving you training and technical assistance that comes with the input from people like Julie and Marie and me and others to help you make that even better, to level it up. So these are the things you first get grounded. Community Advisory Board, what is that? Why is that important?
Provide input and support.
Buy-in as well.
Yeah.
That's sort of a little bit more formal, right? Who gets to be on your community advisory board?
Other service providers.
And and
Helpers.
and get where I'm going. Anybody you want, but who really would help you in getting on that board? Somebody has something.
The intent of help in your community resource analysis.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be great. And if you're in Oklahoma, try to get Barbara. How about, did somebody say youth? You said youth. Okay, thank you. Why did you say youth?
It's really important if you want the community or what they need.
It's what we just spoke about, right? And then people in recovery maybe? Also, because getting them on, it makes it then they really get ownership. Well, I'm part of the community advisory. I'm part of the CAB. When I first saw the word CAB, I'm like, what is CAB? Oh, Community Advisory Board. Yeah. And sometimes you can form a youth advisory board, and yeah, we have a YAB and a CAB. You have a lot of acronyms. So that's your people getting grounded. Then we talked about getting the CSA going. This is really having you identify the people and the partners, the services and the systems in the community. Here's a question. Can people see in the bird bag? This is health, education, community, faith-based and more traditional practices, tribal leadership, law enforcement, economic and natural resources. These are just examples. Which one on this circle of services and systems that are in most communities, which one doesn't feel like a natural fit for you? Yes!
Law enforcement.
Ah!
For my project that I used to work on, that was the hardest. That was hard.
What, tell me.
It was hard. Okay, so I was lucky in the sense that because I was working with, I'm sorry, this is a buzzword, so excuse me. I was working with historically marginalized populations. And so to try to bring law enforcement into that conversation where I wanted people with lived experience of substance use to feel free to be there in the way that they were. And, we had people from the LGBTQ community, people who have historically experienced not so great interactions in some instances with law enforcement, to ask law enforcement to come to the table for these conversations felt like I was suppressing the participation of other people that I really wanted at the table. It was a challenge. I worked through it, but it was a challenge.
I understand.
Yeah, that was
You
challenging.
agree? Does anybody feel
That must not have been the one you were thinking. But
No, that's a really good one. Because a lot of people, we just had, I don't know if anybody in the room saw, we just had a webinar last week. Was it or this week? It was great. Not that long ago on partnering with law enforcement and juvenile courts. Because we forget it, reach out to that sector of the community? What do I say to the law officer? I don't know. I don't know how to speak law enforcement. How do I speak to a first responder? Yeah, that's your comment.
They all do, but law enforcement and with my Native American background, we were raised that law enforcement's bad. So breaking that stigma is where you need to start first, because you are, I don't want to say you're born with it, but you're taught from a young age that law enforcement is bad.
Yeah, talk
They're
about
gonna
stigma,
take
right?
away your parents, or they're gonna take away your auntie, your uncle, your grandma, your grandpa. They're taking away somebody that you love. So they're bad. But yet you still need them. So it's like, it's like it's,
They have a bad rap for another reason, right?
Yeah.
But what we forget, they're so connected. Those are your people that they go for that job because they like people.
Yeah.
They go for that job because they're connected with a lot of people that you're working with. Who knew? Some of the young people that you're working with, the law enforcement or first responders probably know their aunt or uncle or their dad. Wow, that's a connection, but I've chosen to step away from that because it's a little hard for me. The challenge, step into it. Step into that fear and just connect with them, because that connection with the law enforcement is gonna really open this up really widely. So that's another really very part. Oh, yes.
I just had something to say on the lot because I was raised like that too. I was a troubled teen on probation at 13, and my daughters, it kind of went down to the next level too, because my daughter's father died by suicide by police. And then I attended a training program, and I had troopers in that program talking about like PTSD kind of things. And it humanized some aspects of like the law enforcement and made me understand. And so that really kind of opened my eyes. And so I agree with really leaning into it and figuring out how to bridge that, because that made it so much more important. So I feel like, and now like in our community, we haven't had law enforcement. I've lived there almost like 20 years now. And I think up until, when did that come?
2.5 years ago, Naomi spent a year and a half like that.
So yeah, we only had a BPSO for maybe a year and a half, and then he left, and we just got another one recently, but he's still in training, and so just kind of getting his,
Bridge that gap for sure, especially as troopers don't come. And sometimes we'll have a very serious emergency, but they don't come for 3 to 4 days sometimes.
sometimes it is fault because it's no longer urgent or a threat, and it's just.
But you're reaching out for them now.
Well, now we have a BPSO. He's a little more level-headed. The first guy, I feel like he was straight out of military and just very aggressive-ish.
Oh,
So he would interact with the kids and did activities with the kids. So I think he was trying. But there was the new one, he's a little more like, I feel like he's a little more laid back and approachable, but still very stoic.
It's tricky because they're trying to feel their way out too, because they have an authority, they've kind of worked their way through it as well. I'm sorry, I'm gonna jump forward because I don't want to run out of time.
What's BPSO?
Oh, village
Police safety.
So they don't have like the full authority like the trooper
Village
or
police.
the officer would.
It's in Alaska. And then there's school resource officers.
Yeah.
That's a school-based police officer. Before anyone else have any? Bringing back something.
I was just gonna say that I know for like Alaska and remote villages, like they struggle with when law enforcement does get called in, it's by flight, so it's time responding, or when they do come out, it's for something bad. So there's
It's a
no
crisis.
yeah.
There's emotion, and so
They're there to pick somebody up.
right. So the challenge is find a time when there's not a crisis, invite them in, right? Because they're gonna work for you if you do. This is just my real fast, quick way of saying, do people feel comfortable with the system? The stages of readiness, the 9 stages, with all of the 6 areas over here. Do people feel comfortable? This is the second part, gathering that data. We have the data ready. Then we begin the strategic action plan. We start with the vision. We start with the vision because that's the overarching big goal. This is the goal where you want to go with this funding that you just got. Once you have that vision, you want to have a mission. What's the mission say? The vision tells you what you aspire to get to. What's your destination with this grant? What are you doing with the money? You just want to, what are you going to do with it? In one sentence, tell me that's your vision. How you want to get there? Through partnerships. That's a way. You can write a mission statement to describe how, what, and how. That's a whole conversation in itself. Then you get into your values and strategies. Again, partnerships is a great strategy. What's another strategy? She's like, I didn't know I was going to ask. I'll share some of those with you. From that information, we can kind of take that. So we have one vision mission statement, a few strategies like partnerships. We might focus it even on more of a strategy of just only working this year with Rhonda, for example. A few other strategies like I want to use culture. I want to use culture as a strategy to reach you. There's another strategy, right? Then from this we get more goals. We have 4 or 5 goals here, depending on how big your team is. If you have a small team, keep just a few goals. You're going to go crazy. From this few amount of goals, you get many more objectives, and then you get your implementation plan. You blow all of this out into activity, time, people, and budget, and other resources. So what does that pyramid look like in reality when you're writing this whole crazy idea out? The mountain is the whole pyramid. You have your SMART goals and objectives. And what I've done here is, I think something that she inspired me, other GTAs inspire me, asking, this SMART goals thing is a real trick, right? It's like focusing, what is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. These are abstract things to talk about. And by the way, nobody ever says, I always say to Pam, hey, how's that objective going? How's your vision? Like it's 2020. How about those activities what about those outcomes? No one talks like that. So when we talk about the language that we use when we talk about a strategic action plan and I see the blank faces, it's not a big surprise, right? Because you have to sort of shift into the left brain to think about the language that's obscure, weird language that we use. So what I've done is I've color-coded a SMART goal example. Did you want to say anything? No.
Even just like explaining to people what the difference between, because I know when we first had our first Instagram, what the difference between a goal and an objective is. You know, even just that is important, like to those tasks. Yeah, because it's more different than like what's the difference between a goal, what's an objective, what's a task, you know, what are the differences? How do you separate those? Because that's really important, especially for first time grantees.
You could tie up a lot of time worried about that, right? We want to get you into the fun of actually planning. So we're gonna loosen it up a little bit. That's what one of the first things I ask people to do is to go back, like I just said earlier, get your notebook. Get the original plan, what was promised. Go back in and look and read at what they did, what they promised. What was the vision statement? They usually have it in there. What's in the program narrative? It's just like the guy said earlier, that's your roadmap. That's the SAP is already in that notebook.
Is some of the what's in an original grant? Is there some stuff that you can what was in there or doesn't work now?
Exactly. That's where we're going with it. We take it forward because what in the notebook, it hasn't been informed by the community readiness assessment. Hasn't been informed by your possible partners. It hasn't been informed by any data that you might have gathered from Rhonda, gathered by our meeting. It hasn't been informed by the needs assessment that you will run to gather this community data. So if you remember the Native Connections approach at the top, we have the CSA for gathering data for an assessment, right? CSA, CRM, is it CRA or CRM, Bob?
It's community readiness model, CRM, but there's CRA is the assessment. There's two A's, community readiness assessment, and then the application, picking strategies that we list that are appropriate for each level of readiness. Then you twist and change to fit your community and culture, but gives you a general idea of, you don't do 1,000 people workshop if you're at a level 2 or 3, because you'll get your staff. But there's other things you can do at that level. So yeah, CRM and then application is.
So you gather your data, you gather your people. You start talking about what's the big fat goal we're gonna go for? What's the big overarching goal we're gonna do? We have all this money in 5 years to play with it. What are we gonna do? We're gonna do what? This one sentence. So to do that, we've got to get to that big sentence, that big vision that we just created. It's gonna take a number of steps. And each one of those steps, your goals, are going to take more steps, your objectives. And those objectives are going to take more goals, more things, which are tasks or activities. And that's going to take what? People, determining what part of your budget's going to be delineated to take care of that. Your rules, regulations, you hire, getting a hotel, all kinds of detail. That's where the detail, that's your implementation plan. That's comes after you have the big vision and goals and objectives. I don't want to go any further without talking about outcomes. The word outcomes sometimes sends people over the edge. Like, oh, I'm done. You brought up another word I don't understand. We're talking about objectives. Now you're talking about outcomes. What does that mean? If I say outcome, what does that mean to you?
Measure.
It's something that you need to measure.
It's like a process.
Yes.
There's qualitative and quantitative, and depending how you set them up. That's something gets me going as a peer reviewer.
It's a struggle, and you're not the only one. An outcome is simply what? An outcome is a result. It's usually a measure, a result that can be measured. We want it to be measured. So when I say, you had a party last week, what was the outcome? Well, I got arrested because I drank too much, or somebody called the police, bummed me out, or I don't know, whatever. What was the outcome? You took this course in learning how to build bikes. What was the outcome? I learned how to build bikes, but I also learned that I don't like building bikes, so I'm not going to do that. There's interesting things going on, right? There are outcomes. If you do your objective, what usually happens is a mirror reaction to the outcome. I'm going to show you what I mean. Down here, you probably can't see this, but over here, this is a seed and it's in dirt. And it says, if we plant an apple seed today, but over here, if we plant an apple seed today, water it regularly, protect it from the wind, and nurture it with care, watch what happens. So this is your objective. We're going to plant a seed. I want to plant a seed. That's my objective. Then an apple tree will grow over here. On this one, it's be strong, resilient, and fruitful. Apple tree will grow because I've done all these things. I've added more to the objective that I'm going to do. The outcome is I've got an amazing, fruitful tree over here where I put more effort into my objective. I've added real detail. Over here, I have a tree because I just planted the seed. The apple tree grew, and now I have a fruit tree. But over here, I really got detail about that objective. It's a strong, resilient fruit tree. It's good. The details, they say the devil's in the details, but I say that's where you want to be. You want a detailed whether it's smart or not, technically, you want your objective to be detailed. Why? Well, what you guys, what do you think? Why would it be important to be detailed?
I think for me, where my brain goes to is that you want it to be detailed because then you can go back and see what works and reflect on that, and then also it works in the community because they can also go back and reflect like, oh, this is what worked for us. This is how we got the apple tree nice and pretty and have these nice bright cut apples.
Anything else? Anyone else?
Kind of just the opposite. You can see what didn't work and reinvent. Add to it.
It just gives you a little bit more data. That's data. This is information. This is information. Okay, I'm moving around. I'm taking too much time. So you guys ready to explore the template? Let's get on with it. We wanted to just bring you back to where we were with the problem, right? This is what the original template looked like. What a hot mess, right? But this is sort of clean though. It has a lot of detail in it. Why is it, again, important to have details? Why do we want to have all this writing here rather than just one or two words? Why is it important to do, before I move on, why is it important to have detail?
Like so that people can see what you're doing or not doing.
Yes, and yeah, I know you want to say something.
Well, I do, just because I think that although a strategic action plan can be somewhat overwhelming for grantees, it also, if you break it down, it's kind of like a step-by-step for implementation. And so if you look at it like that, it's like this is your roadmap for how to exceed all of the things that you said you were going to in your narrative.
I like it. What happens if you get a really great job and you're a wonderful program manager or program director, but you know somebody says that I think you can pray for tribal council. I think I want to run your campaign. I'd like you to start thinking about getting your campaign going. Let's get you in the tribal council, and you start leaving this job behind and just disappear one day. Well, you can't do that from tribal. But anyway, you move on. What happens? All that work you've done, do you leave a workbook behind to your replacement and say, oh, here, we did all this work, here you go, good luck. If you have a nice detailed action plan, you can pick that up and give that to the next person. They can pick up right where you left off and the kids don't get hurt. The investment does not get hurt. This is an investment in your community. This is so important. It's too important to leave to chance, right? We can't leave to chance. We can't just willy-nilly, oh, we'll just come up with a birthday party idea. You know, no, this is the most important. This is your grandmother's 100th birthday. She's never going to have another one. This is even more important than that. People are dying, right? We're losing our kids. We're losing the tribal future. This is important. It's an investment, not just the Fed has put money in it, and you're putting your time, your heart, and your sweat, and your people's interest into it. So it's important. We want details. This is a glimpse of the. There's two templates out right now. We have a 3-column one and a 5-column one. We'll start with the 3-column one. What we did was we took off what could be 25 pages. Rhonda, let's give you a number of the pages of how long maybe one of your earlier model steps was. How many pages?
I don't even know.
Too many.
I keep flicking and.
Let me flip through 5 pages. Yeah. Oh, I got 10 pages right through. This is we wanted to make it so that fewer pages to manage. You can put your logo on it. You could add or remove columns or rows. Say if you have a three-column template is for a bare bones staff, skeleton crew. You only have you, maybe a half-time person or maybe an intern. And you just started, you don't have a lot of partners. You only have maybe 3 goals. 5-column one is getting a little bit more sophisticated. You're down the road. This isn't your first rodeo. This might be your second grant, you really know you're already in the mood, the groove, you have things going on, you need space to start laying down more than 4 goals. I want to take a quicker look, or a closer look at this, so you can just escape out of this. How much time do you got?
We're just about
1 minute.
Shoot. Work on. I want you guys to be able to see. I have my mouse with me. Okay, let's open up. Okay, you guys want to take a look at the 5-column one? This is what it could look like for just 1 year. It's just really good. Well, it's really hard to do without my mouse, but anyway, can you guys see? All right, the name of the this one's Big River Youth Program. This is their first year. This is their staff on one big page. It can go into a second page, but we see one big page. Here's a listing of who's on their team, their staff. Could include the evaluator, doesn't have to. Their vision statement, not paragraph. Give me a sentence or two. That's all I want to know. The essence of what you plan to do with this grant. The essence of what's your vision. We don't have time to go into all the details. Your mission statement. Right up here, listing your CRM scores so that up front immediately, you don't have to go searching for them. We put them right into the staff to see it immediately. We know that you guys are going to focus on your 2 to 3 lowest scores, right? They're up there, you know what the scores are. 2s. If you have a score of 6, we usually don't see them. You guys are already down the road. We will be as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Over here, your strategies. In a quick glance, you can see that this group is looking to empower youth and raise awareness. So they've developed a nice goal, and they'll have a checkbox underneath that to just empower youth and raise awareness. They'll also work on policies and 3 Ps, right? These are the staff working on it, the sponsor for it. Here's their goal, and underneath will be their objectives and more information. So at a glance, you'll see quickly their strategies, the vision and mission that support it, what their scores are, their goals. Let me scroll down. And I'll wrap it up. And Rhonda has a couple of things to say, whatever moments we have left. Can you guys see this? The objectives? Do you see the activities that are the objectives? Do you see how detailed these are? Does this scare anybody? You guys like this? The more detailed you are, the better it will be for you down the road. Be detailed. Be detailed. But we also include at the very end, we include measurable outcomes. So how much we need to see to bear straight? We've got a listing of your measurable outcomes, and then the tools that you would use to measure those. Rhonda, any thoughts? Rhonda had a chance to take the prototype of this and play with it. She has some thoughts.
When we did our last year strategic plan, and we were able to put it on our board. Okay, how many of you guys are new to this Native Connections program? And how many of you guys are at least 1 year in? 2 years? 3 years? 4? 5? Okay, so this is like for the new people, because the people is asking us, how do we get from your CSA to something that encompasses everything that we're doing today, which is our overarching goal is making mental health accessible. And it all starts from what she just talked about. But when I went and looked at like all that stuff, that's not my learning style. So if I can get it on a one-page diagram, it works best for me on how I learn, how I can see it. So yeah, you guys are free to guys look at this. I don't know if you guys want to look at it, but it's, and just know too that document right there, you have to play around with the formatting to get it on something like that, or even to print it. But the original SAP workbook did not work for me because it's so many different pages. But when I see it on one form, it's a lot better for me to look at. And everything that the original SAP had on it is all in there, you know, your CRM, your scores, what you did, and all your objectives, your goals, your tasks, how you're going to evaluate what you're doing. But it all gets you, it can all get you to your overall program and what you need to do. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. If you're new to the program, I'm thinking you've got a billion questions. Me, Sarah, Marie, we can go back and answer any questions because I know when I first came on, there wasn't any documentation and MHA had the first 5-year grant. I think they were in year 3 or 4 when I came on, and there was no documentation. We didn't have a CRM. They didn't have a CSA. And I always say they're just guidelines. I ended up creating my own CSA, and it's just like an everyday checklist that I can email out to people. But it gives you a place to start. If you can learn from that style, that's great. But that wasn't my style. I can't do pages and pages. I just need to know who's on my coalition. Everybody, like I put it on here too, so people can ask me like, hey, what's that? Like we have our youth coalition, you know. We promote all prevention of wellness type activities. We have our Facebook, we're headed on a TPR. We know the risk factors, we know protective factors, we're representing our community. Our contact numbers on them, stuff like that. So I know it's a lot. This is a really short session. We have 2 hours. Yeah. But we're gonna be doing it again tomorrow.
I really like your example. And I know that you're passing out, people are looking at it, take pictures. Is it possible to share a draft of what you've got there?
She has a slide. We do have her slide on the dashboard. So all of the presentations will be on the dashboard, the same dashboard that you have access to that coming in the mail, the emails about what to know before to go, those ones. In that dashboard, that's where all the presenters. So if you miss one to come to another one, you can see that presentation. We're recording. Eventually that'll be up on that same dashboard. So if you missed something or you caught something or wasn't able to take fast enough notes, those will be on that recording. Also, this presentation will be again tomorrow in the bigger room. So we'll have the bigger screens and
Part 2.
yeah, I think we're gonna turn it into a part 2. And then that part 2 will also probably grab the individuals that missed today. But we'll be able to answer questions if we give it that time. Yeah, so
They definitely wanted to know how to get from the beginning workbook to getting marketing material like this and being able to be, you know, keep it indigenous and things like that. You know, there's this whole process, but you have to start from those foundational questions. This is your leadership aware. Everything that's in a CRM is what's your community's knowledge, you know? What's the level of understanding of community? Because ours was low in leadership acknowledgement and our community's level of understanding. We scored low on those.
At the top, these guys.
Yeah. Community effort, existing community efforts, community knowledge, prevention, leadership, community, something else, but yeah, so that's how you get to where you can do things like this, because we can't buy shirts with SAMHSA funding, right? So what do? We run to our partners and we ask them. We're able to put on suicide prevention walks with our leadership's funding. with third-party revenue from our health clinics. We just go, and we're asking everybody, anybody, but we only ask at one monthly meeting, and that's our coalition meeting. And we let them know our needs, and a lot of people, whether you know it or not, and I know a lot of tribal entities are siloed off, and that's a huge thing, because we're all fighting for grant funding. But you bring everybody to the table, people are more than happy to help do the work, because a lot of our goals are their goals too, prevention and wellness. So that's where we get, but it all starts, you gotta start. And if you leave or somebody else leaves, it's like Sarah said, you don't want your community to suffer because they see something good in you. You know, you want to be able to lead a roadmap or a library, something documented, so the next person can come in and pick it up like this, because us with tribal nations, we understand that people come and go quickly, you know, especially when they see you're doing something good. You know, they want to take you right away, but leave something for the next person so that your community doesn't suffer. You know, and from this, we're able to also, our next step is we applied for the Circle of Care grant. So if we get that, I'll be moving on, but our educator coordinator will be coming, the director, and we already have people lined up for her, you know, for her to put in her spot, so.
Rhonda, can you tell us, just because these are, they look like they're siloed, do some of these cut across each
Oh,
other?
yeah, it's all one, it's not, it's all one, like, all of this is, pointing, all of this touches a little on everything, but it's really focusing on for this SAP here, we're focusing on community, knowledge about the issue and our leadership. So each of our goals in here focus on those, but it creates the community climate, it, adds in the resources, but it hits heavy on the two that score the lowest. So if you look at all the activities that we do in our SAP, oh, this is it, yeah, in our SAP, it hits these, which is and then this is our primary mission or goal. Our objective, I don't know what you want to call it, I just call them the same one, no difference. But I know that we have all these tasks that help us get from all this gets to here, which overall gets to here.
Your CAD might be doing an activity or a goal here, they might have to get a goal over there, but the CAD, they cut across. So there's a lot going on, we need bigger screen and more time with you, but final thoughts. Are we doing okay on time?
We're over.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming, guys. We hope you had a good time.